Voodoo Tikis. Voodoo Tiki Tequila. There's magic inside. On the first day, the Great Master created the Great Light. On the seventh day, God simply stated the words Ti-Ki, which means first man. Upon hearing God's command, man was born. In time, the Great Master created woman as a mate for man. He also created more monoliths. Inside each monolith, God placed a powerful ability of man. God spread these powerful icons across the land to teach man the multitude of human power and emotions. Once discovered, each idol bestowed upon the race its great power. Happiness, bravery, courage, beauty, love, friendship, creativity, sensuality, devotion, charisma, prosperity, serenity, romance, bravery, passion, wisdom, irresistibility, wealth, and hundreds of other magic words. Upon finding the first monolith, man recalled the word that had awakened him. Man named the monoliths Tiki. Man worshipped the Tiki as idolic symbols of God's love and power. The world's first religion was born, and man named the religion Voodoo. Early man gathered at the base of the powerful Voodoo Tikis to pray and ask for God's help. However, an evil subculture had begun in Voodoo, a movement aimed at destroying the Tiki and harvesting their power for evil. The tribe leader wanted to protect the Tiki at any cost and made a deathbed wish to his son, Jean-Philippe Petro. Jean, gather the Tiki, create a great wagon train and take them away. Do not let the Tiki be destroyed. But father, the people, they need the Tiki to worship. No, when the time is right, the Tiki's magic will rise again. Take them away. Protect them. Do not let them be destroyed. With the help of the Loa, kind spirits, Jean-Philippe gathered hundreds of Tiki under the cover of night. The Tiki were loaded on a great wagon train and taken to the edge of land. They were placed upon a great ship and brought across the earth. Upon reaching the small Mexican town of Jalisco, Jean-Philippe saw a hillside that was covered with hundreds of agave plants. The agave-covered hill reminded Jean-Philippe of home. Jean took this as a sign from God that his journey had ended. To protect the Tiki, Jean-Philippe buried them deep in the ground on the hillside. He changed his name to Don Pedro and assumed the role of a poor blue agave field worker at a family-operated tequila distillery. He worked hard and quickly became a member of the distillery family. He saved money and built a fine home. He met a woman. They fell in love and were married. In time, they had children. The years passed quickly, and Don Pedro was blessed with grandchildren. He and his wife spent many happy years together with their family and friends, until the day the children grew up and moved away. Not soon thereafter, his dear wife passed. No one ever learned of Don Pedro's secret of where the precious Tiki were hidden. Alone, Don carried his wife up the mountain. He dug a deep hole next to the place where the magical Voodoo Tikis were hidden. Don Pedro buried his wife and prayed. Exactly 1 year from the date of his wife's death, God took Don Pedro into his arms, reuniting him with his wife in heaven. Don had kept his secret to the grave, never telling anyone about the Tiki, not even his dear friend and employer, Don Juanito. Don Juanito was a good man. Upon his friend's death, he and the men took Don Pedro's body to the spot where Pedro had buried his wife. They dug deep into the ground to bury their friend. To his surprise, Don Juanito found nearly 100 logs with strange face carvings, the Tiki. Juanito buried his friend, prayed, and gathered the logs back at his factory. The next day, tequila production began as usual. The silver Plata tequila was double distilled and ready for sale and consumption. Like every other day, Don Juanito was handed the first sample. Raising the cup to his mouth, he paused. Don Juanito raised his glass and said, "To my friend, Don Pedro." About to drink, Don stopped and said, "No, we must wait. We will wait a year. Continue to distill, but we will not drink. We will not sell. We will wait a year." Our friend Don Pedro waited a year to be reunited with his wife. We will wait this year as he did. We will honor Don Pedro. "But, Señor Juanito, there are not enough kettles. There are not enough drums. How will we hold all the tequila for a year?" asked a worker. Just then, Don Juanito remembered the strange logs that he had collected from the grave of his friend. "We will make barrels. Don Pedro has supplied us with enough wood for hundreds of barrels." So the voodoo tikis were carved into hundreds of barrels. Because the tequila was stored in the barrels made from the magical voodoo tikis, it became known as Tiki Tequila. 1 year later, the Tiki Tequila was removed from the first group of barrels for sampling. It had no bite, only slight color and smooth, savory flavor that excites the senses and stimulates the mind. The workers enjoyed the new samples and took some home. Within a few days, strange things began to happen. After extensive research, the town learned that the barrels were carved from the ancient and powerful voodoo tikis that disappeared from Africa years ago. Could the legends be true? Could the tequila be absorbing the power of the voodoo tikis? Hundreds of years later, Don Juanito's Tiki Tequila remains 100% blue agave, aged in Don Pedro's very special barrels. Look on the back of your Voodoo Tiki Tequila bottle. There you will find a magic word. This is the code for which barrel carved from the magical Voodoo Tiki that your tequila rested within. Voodoo Tiki. Open up a bottle and maybe you'll find there's magic inside.